It's time to start winter sowing. This is one of the easiest ways to start seeds, and I wanted to bring you along with me this year on all the steps, all the parts, all of the process. This is my third year to do winter sowing, and the first 2 years were very successful. I had really good high rates for the most part of germination. That doesn't mean that everything germinated. I did have some duds both years. The first year I went wild. I did over 200 containers. Last year I scaled it back some and I had around 100 something. This year I'm going to scale it back again because now that the initial excitement of starting a bunch of things myself, both indoors, in an indoor seed starting kind of arrangement, and then outdoors with this winter sowing, now that that initial excitement has sort of settled a little bit, I've realized that I started a lot of stuff that I ended up not being able to plant because I just ran out of time. I just didn't have the capacity. So I'm going to be much more selective this year, but I've also learned some things, so I want to share with you some of those things as we go along. To start off with, winter sowing is probably the easiest way to start your own seeds. It requires the least amount of stuff, the least amount of time hands-on, and is just very beginner friendly. So the basic supplies that you need are some kind of containers. Milk jugs work fantastic and they're fairly easy to come by. Even if you're starting now with this process, you actually can be putting your milk jugs together and setting them outside for the next couple of months even, depending on what it is that you want to start. But for most things, even into February is fine. I'm starting early because my day job, I'm currently on vacation, and so now's a good time to get it done. But you basically need some kind of container. Milk jugs, water jugs, anything that has the ability for light to get through works great. Orange juice containers, even things like 2-liter pop containers. I also have used leftover nursery pots from when I bought things over the past couple of years. And then with those, you just need to have something to put over the top. Like I've used clear plastic trash bags, so I just bought some cheap ones off of Amazon for smaller trash cans and put them, over the top of the nursery pots and then duct taped. So anything like that that is open, you can still use. I've seen people online who have used things like solo cups, and they put a bunch of solo cups in like a big plastic storage container, like those totes, and drilled some holes in the top and the bottom of the storage tote, and then just nestled a bunch of solo cups in the storage tote. That works fine. The thing about using smaller pots is when you have a smaller amount of the potting mix and soil, that can tend to have the potential to dry out quicker, and so that would just be something you need to remember, to check your winter sown containers a little more frequently if you have dry spells, to make sure that the potting mix hasn't dried out, because you don't want those seeds to dry out. That will affect your germination. But very simple kind of containers that can be stuff that you're recycling. So you need containers, you need some potting mix. I would make sure that you get a decent quality potting mix. I buy mine in the summer so that I can get the Espoma brand. I don't know, depending on where you live, what might be available in your local stores. If for some reason you cannot find a decent potting mix in, say, a local garden center or big box store, there are online places you can even order it off of Amazon. You'll pay a little bit more because obviously of having to pay for shipping, but that is an option. Definitely I would try to source it locally. And for potting mix, you just want something that's going to be able to drain, and you definitely want a potting mix. You do not want just to go out in the yard and dig up some dirt. For one thing, it's probably frozen or kind of waterlogged this time of year, depending on where you live. But another thing, it won't drain very well. It'll just clump, and then your seeds won't be able to push through their little baby roots. So you want something that's definitely a potting mix. So containers, potting mix, seeds, and that's kind of sort of it, all you need. And you can start seeds of all kinds of varieties. You can do vegetables, you can do annuals, you can do perennials. You really can do pretty much anything. Things that are going to work and benefit the most from a winter winter sowing or anything that requires a cold period, that by winter sowing them, nature is going to take care of that. You're going to put them out there. They're going to go through that freezing and thawing um, process just by being outdoors, but they'll be somewhat protected from birds or insects getting to them, and they'll have their chance to just grow, and then they'll germinate just when their time is right. So lots of perennials do great with winter sowing: echinaceas, black-eyed Susans, daisies, um, lots of things that are more annual types of plants work really well with winter sowing. Poppies. If you see something online that says you cannot, that poppies are hard, they're not. I did poppies my first year. I had 4 or 5 varieties. They all did really great. I was not real gentle with them, getting them out of the milk jug and busting them up into little chunks and planting them out, and they all did fantastic. So poppies are a good choice. Bachelor buttons I did the first year, did great. What were some of the other things? All just pretty much anything. Like, you can Google search, and honestly, just about anything can be winter sown, which is why I think it's so beginner friendly. So today what I'm doing is I am going through my seeds. I'm going to go through my stuff and get things organized. I am going to pull out the seeds that I'm going to be winter sowing this year and put them together in a little collection. A couple of things I'm going to do that are vegetable related. I am going to do some broccoli rabe, some broccoli, and some cauliflower, just to see how they do as a comparison with starting indoors. Broccoli in particular and cauliflower should do great. I did winter sow a few vegetables my first year, and I was able to grow some carrots that I had winter sown, some tomato plants, and some broccoli. So I want to try those again this year. Last year I did mostly, I focused on flowers because I really expanded what I did inside for indoor seed starting, and this year I want to try to be a little more strategic, and so I'm going to do some of these cold weather crops outdoors, and I think that they'll do just as well in the winter sowing, and be less work for me. So I won't have to do the potting up, because things that can be planted out early are things that I think will be benefit me to do winter sowing, because they'll get out there, they'll germinate when they're ready, and then I won't have to worry about acclimating the seedlings that if I start them indoors, then I have to acclimate them. I have to get them ready to go outside by hardening them off, and that can be a process that takes several days. It requires some time, because you've got to take them out, then you've got to make sure they're not left out there when it gets cold and they could freeze. So by doing winter sowing, they're hardening off pretty much on their own. So things like this are going to get winter sown. And then I'm going to be going through all of my perennials. But I just want to show you real quick. You don't have to have anything fancy to organize seeds, especially if you're just starting out. The first couple of years, I ordered seeds from several different companies, and Botanical Interests is a company that has lots of different kinds of seeds. They're fairly reasonably priced. A lot of times you can get free shipping or very low cost on your shipping, and they come in these really nice cardboard boxes that are even kind of cute. Let's see if I can turn this around so you can see. So, nice big size cardboard box. I literally used 2 or 3 of these boxes to organize all my seeds for the first couple of years. It's just been in this last year I've bought a couple of these. They're photo storage keepers, and I've sorted all my seeds. This is my vegetable garden box, and I have another box like this that has all of my perennial and annual type, like landscape plant seeds, and these are organized by type of vegetable. So like there's a container for like greens, onions, not potatoes. Potatoes are started with like not those kind of seeds usually. Although I did see potato seeds. Sorry, side note. Beans, whatever. There's categories in here that are by vegetables. For the one that is my perennial and annual flower plants, that I have organized by when I would start those seeds, just to kind of try out a couple of different methods. The one that's for the perennials and annuals is also somewhat by type. because obviously plants of the same type would be started at the same time. By having that though organized by when I would start them, I thought might be helpful. And so this might get reorganized along the same lines. The thing with the vegetables though is some of these get just planted straight out into the garden, but I guess that would just mean I would put them at the end of the timing. So anyways, you don't have to have something fancy like this, just a box. It's fine. And it doesn't even have to be from a seed company, obviously, just a little cardboard box of any kind, recipe box, whatever. Put your seeds in there and get yourself some little tags like this, because these I'm going to put inside my containers. Now I'm also going to number all of my containers, and I'm going to write that number several different places on the container. And I'm going to use an actual garden marker. Get these off of Amazon is where that's where I got them. This is a brand called Artline. There's a couple different, if you type in garden marker, you'll see things that look like this. There are some that, most of them are a little bit fatter, and I had that the first couple of ones that I used, and then I found these that have a finer tip. I don't know if that can focus. I like this better because it's just a little bit of a finer tip. So when I'm writing on these little skinny tags, I feel like I can read what I end up writing a little easier. But, so get some tags, get some garden markers, and you definitely want garden markers because regular Sharpies will fade. You think they're permanent, but for some reason, the UV rays of the sun, I had some tags the first year that I didn't realize that, and within a few months, I had no tag because it had faded off. It was gone. So get something that definitely says garden marker, and figure out what you're going to plant. Go ahead and make yourself a few tags. And then I also have a spreadsheet. So I'm going to switch my camera situation here, and I'm going to show you that real quick. And then that's going to be all of the prep for today, because I'm just going to pick out my seed packets, put them in a pile. I'm going to make a few tags for each one, and then I'll be ready for the next step, which will be getting my jugs together. So let me pause here for a second. All right, so I'm back, and I've now got my spreadsheet up to share with you. If you are not, let me start by saying this with the spreadsheet. If you are not a spreadsheet type of a person, you don't have to do a spreadsheet. I am a bit of a data nerd, and for me, this is way easier than trying to hand make a little list somewhere in a notebook or something. But if you're not starting, if you don't, a bunch of stuff, if you don't have the problem that I have where you buy a whole lot of seeds and then you are worried you might lose track of what you have, you absolutely don't need a spreadsheet. But I do recommend at some point maybe thinking about starting something like this, just because it is so much easier to look through, and then the next year look through, than it would be to just have random notebooks laying around. That's just my 2 cents. But again, I'm a data nerd. So what I'm going to be looking through next now is I'm going to look through, I've got a sheet in my spreadsheet that is for vegetables, and I've got one for flowers. And so what I'm going to be doing next for the next, I don't know, however long, is going through my spreadsheet here and identifying what are the most high priority seeds that I want to make sure I winter sow this year. Some things that I've included on my spreadsheet, just as some options to think about, is obviously the name of whatever it is. Another thing that I like to keep track of is where did I get the seeds. For my flower type seeds, I have several different companies that I've used, and I kind of like, for the most part, I would recommend them to any of them. Some of them have pros and cons, but some of them, the majority of my seeds, actually I can't even say the majority. I've got seeds from a bunch of different companies, but ones that I especially like are M.I. Gardner. They are probably the most reasonable cost. They're only $2 a pack, and their shipping cost is pretty low. And once you get to $20 worth of seeds, if you're only ordering seeds, shipping is free. So highly recommend M.I. Gardner. Johnny's is another really good one for some high quality seeds. However, they are a little more expensive on the cost of the seed packs, and their shipping is more. But if you're getting a lot of seeds, or if there's some really particular variety that you want, I do like Johnny's. I do have some from them. Swallowtail is good. Um, Also, botanical interest. Botanical interest is another one where sometimes shipping cost can be free or low. Or also, Rare Seeds is the website for Baker Creek, and they have really good seeds. The nice thing about Baker Creek and M.I. Gardner, a lot of their seeds, I think if not all, are like heirloom, organic types of seeds. Um, so they're very stable. You don't have to worry about getting things that are going to not be true to their seed if they reseed themselves. Um, Outside Pride, got some things from there. High Mowing. High Mowing is also another one that's real good. Eden Brothers, and tends to be a little more on the expensive side, I think. I felt, but again, obviously I've got more than one seed from them. So, but I would say Baker Creek, Johnny's, M.I. Gardner, and Botanical Interests are the ones that I have gotten the most from and have felt the most confident and comfortable with those companies. Other things that I now have in my spreadsheet are notes for next year. I keep track of when I would start them before, how many weeks before frost if I'm starting them indoors. And then I have a column for if they're an annual or perennial. I have a spot for what container I have them sown in if I've done them outdoors, and then a date. And I have different columns. One column is for winter sowing dates, and one column is for indoor starting dates. Or actually, a third column for direct sown. So things that I would recommend that you have somewhere on a list, whether it's a spreadsheet or a notebook, is the name of the seed, where you got it from, when you are going to start it, if you're starting it indoors, whether it's an annual or a perennial, and the container that you are winter sowing it in, if you're sowing it outdoors in a winter sowing container, and then the date. Those would be the things that I would definitely recommend that you have somewhere written down. It's going to help you out. So at this point now, I'm going to go through my list. I'm going to make my priority pile and get my name tags ready so that then my next step is going to be getting all my jugs ready and starting to do my winter sowing. Thanks for joining me here today in Aunt Susan's Garden.